Live on stage, the sound
of Orlando.
So, if they ready, the sound
of Orlando.
You don't know what time it is? You don't know what time it is? You know what time it is, right? It is time for the Sound of Orlando show. What's going on, party people? This is your boy, Rome, live and direct from the heart of Orlando. And tonight's going to be a very special night. Before I get into that, I want to send my condolences to the Blackshear family right now. They're going through hella pain right now. They just lost a good brother in the name of Joshua Juan Blackshear, and it is very difficult for the family right now. So if you can send your prayers and condolences that way, they set up a GoFundMe page. You can find that on my page or Jeremiah Blackshear page. And just send prayers, thoughts out to the family. They're going through it right now. And so that leads me to say, in this time right now where everybody's out here kind of just figuring things out and trying to, find their way, make sure, man, you tell your people you love them. Make sure you tell your people how much you care. Make sure you put them first over money. If COVID or just life in general hasn't taught you, money, material things, all these things can be replaced. You cannot replace family. Please go out there and support your family. Hug them, tell them you love them, man, because you never know when they're going to be gone. Now, with that said, tonight I'm going to, let you know Saturday night at 11 o'clock on 98.5 FM, The Wire Orlando. We will have Special Ed and Brother Jay excerpts from the interview on the radio show. The show is going to be bananas. I put up a playlist so that you guys know what we're dealing with. This show is basically ran because of our city and how important my city is to me. And I'm pretty sure to a lot of folks out there, we want our city represented. So you know the mantra, our city, our story, our sound. And that's just what that is, man. Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. I am your boy, Rome. Now, these next beautiful guests, beautiful women, these next guests are just completely and utterly legendary. I grew up listening to them. Shout out to all my Boricuas out there, all my Latinos, my Dominicanos, all my people out there who grew up listening to freestyle and the importance of what freestyle is to hip hop. For a lot of people that were growing up, shout out to George Lamont, who's on the show last week. For a lot of people, and TKA, shout out to K7, who's on the show last week as well. For a lot of people, freestyle was the answer for Latinos to have a voice in hip hop. And so they were able to basically come up with this particular style of dance music, which those were the days where you went to the club and you actually danced, right? So, it was just a great place to be growing up in the 80s and 90s, having all of that good music, man. And these girls, they're completely and utterly amazing with their contribution and what they did for not only freestyle but music in general. They were signed to Mix Plateau, ATCO, Attico Records. Yes, Attico. Yes. They've done so much music. Hooked on You, Take It While It's Hot. The list goes on and on. And crazily, they're still doing their damn thing. You know how hard it is to keep groups together and keep that passion for music after doing it for so long. And these girls are out here still representing hard, doing their thing. They're going to be performing at the Hard Rock at Daytona. They're coming down in May. These, and with COVID finally releases the clutches on us, I'm telling you, the shows are probably just gonna be relentless. I hope these girls are ready to be performing every day, 5 days a week, not 6, 7, like the old days, right? So, without further ado, let me bring on representing Latin, hip hop, freestyle, dance music, whatever you want to call it, the legends, Betty, Belle, and Janae. Let's go. They are Sweet Sensation. Come on down. Let's go. Welcome to this.
What's up?
Oh,
How's everybody doing? All right, all right.
man.
Right.
Yes.
Friday night, it is ladies' night. Let's go.
What's up, bro?
What is going on? Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome
Look at
to your
you.
second or third home in Orlando. Welcome.
Yes.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate you.
Man, I'm so honored to have you guys on the show. The comment section is already lighting up. If you're on these comment sections right now, please like, follow, share.
Yes.
Let everybody
share
know.
Share it. I'm answering this real quick. Hey, everybody, come on board.
Yes, get on them comment sections. Tell everybody it's ladies' night and it's Women's Month. Please.
That's right.
Share.
Women's history. Let's rock. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Go to kick off March.
So, obviously, we're going to probably take this conversation in a million different places. So I'm already prepared for that. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about where Sweet Sensation came from. Where did the name, where did this whole idea come from? And talk about what kind of put you guys in that position to even want to do music. And where's your background? We know you represent the BX, but let's talk about what got you into the music field and how you get started.
I am 17 years old, right? And
Yes.
I'm going back in time. Not right now. I'm still 17, by the way.
I heard that.
I'm still back there, over in
that
back in the day stage. But I was 17 years old. One of my really good friends, her name is Margie Fernandez, right? And she would listen to me sing on my headset. And she was like, look, you need to come meet my neighbor. His name is David Sanchez. And, he works with this production company and he's working with this group Sly Fox. You should meet him. So I'm like, okay, cool. I had no idea that I was going to, be doing records or be in a group, none of that. But right. I said, okay, I went to her house after her job. I remember she was working. She asked me to come to her house. David Sanchez walks into the living room with this huge boombox, puts it down, puts a cassette in. Yes, there were cassettes back in the day, people.
Shout out to all my cassette people. Right. You know what time it is. Let's go.
You know what that's like, right? You have to turn it around with a little pencil.
Yes.
You have to rewind. So he put a cassette in this boombox and he recorded me singing. And then he takes it back to the production company that he's, working with. And Margie calls me up and says, production company wants to meet you. I'm like, great. So me and Margie head out to Intergalactic Studios on, I remember the date because it's my father's birthday. It was March 15th. And we show up, and in Intergalactic Studios, in the booth recording was a group called Boogie Boys. So if y'all don't know who the Boogie Boys are,
man,
Fly
girl, let's go. Shout out to the Boogie Boys. Let's go. Internet.
D of the Boogie Boys, who was there that night recording, and we meet and we hit it off. Me, Margie, and Rome, we actually hung out that night, and we were talking about things. And he said, "I'm gonna write great music for you, right?" And like, okay, this is all right. And sure enough,
right.
Okay, he wrote a song called "Could It Be," and that was the demo that he wrote. And I recorded it. He had a little home studio. We recorded the song. Then we got it back into the studio with Ted Courier on the helm as producer. And then David Sanchez and the other producers who produced Hooked on You changed the chorus. They were like, it's not a strong enough chorus, right? Could it be? So then they went and changed it to Hooked on You, and Hooked on You was born.
Wow.
So then, here I am, this little person, right? I've never been in a recording studio. I'd never been on a stage. I actually, was taking singing up in high school, but that's about it. And they put this group together. They got Margie's sister, Madi, okay, and Margie and myself, and they created this group, Sweet Sensation.
Wow.
And, we recorded it. Hooked on You got recorded, and the production company shopped us as a group to Next Plateau. Next Plateau picked us up, and crazy because Eddie O'Loughlin signed us, but then at the same time, a lot of people don't know this, he had another three-girl group that was very innovative. It was a group called Salt and Pepper. Salt and Pepper and Sweet Sensation was signed to the same label right at the same time, right? So a shout out to Eddie O, okay, from Next Plateau, who saw, okay, he was like, you got 3 Latina girls, right? But then you got like these 3 female rappers, right? It was the beginning of something so innovative, right? So then that's how it all began. And then Hooked on You was recorded, then it was released on Next Plateau, and people were picking it up. Florida was the first market, okay, to pick up Hooked on You and ran with it.
You already know.
Ran with it. New York was probably one of the last markets to pick it up, but Florida first.
You already know.
We started to do shows. Now, here's an interesting fact about Hooked on You. Hooked on You in New York wasn't played. There wasn't a freestyle station because it wasn't called freestyle yet, right?
Right.
So they played us on BLS and KISS, which were urban stations. They were playing R&B music, they had Luther playing on there. We were on a Make It or Break It with Anita Baker. So our song wasn't a freestyle record. Hooked on You had, Gary Henry on keyboards. We had all these like fierce, like George Clinton. Ted did Atomic Dog. Ted Courier, the producer, was the one responsible for Atomic Dog and all the George Clinton stuff, worked with P-Funk. So they created with Ron JD, a hip-hop artist in the Boogie Boys, right? Ted Courier, who was, at the helm for Atomic Dog. Then you had Gary Henry, all these P-Funk musicians who worked on Hooked on You. So the urban influence on that song can't be denied. So that was the beginning.
That's crazy, and I love what you just said. Because shout out to all my funk, all my disco, all my hip hop. That's why I keep saying, like, when I think of freestyle or Latin hip hop, to me it's hip hop, because it comes from the beginning of where the Planet Rock, the Play at Your
Africa
Own Risk.
Bambaataa.
Right, it's all hip hop to me because we were breaking to all of it. We were all dancing to all of it.
We were all styling to everything.
Right. So to me, it's always been hip hop.
Dancing or everything.
Right. That's amazing because, and shout out to BLS and KISS FM for rocking that during those days, because that tells you the level of really non-divisional when it came to the early beginnings of hip hop. Like, we had Malcolm McLaren, we had, Africa Bam, we had you guys,
Then you had Shannon. Shannon was on the scene,
Right.
Dance music was exploding. This new sound was happening, and people were like, what is this? But we said this, you and I were talking earlier, right? How we grew up, Latinos in New York, Florida, all of these places. we grew up listening to salsa music, merengue. We listened to R&B music. We listened to hip hop. These are all, at some point, we were all going to come together, and all of that was going to mesh together and make a sound. So, you
Right.
know,
Right. And it's so important that we put it in that context
Yeah.
because for a lot,
The cool
for
thing about hip
go ahead,
hop,
mama.
the
Go
cool
ahead.
thing about hip hop is that at the time when it was like this, and in that era, it was like a transition because you had these new babies coming out and everybody was getting creative. So the dancing was already happening, but just like they added a different flavor to it, and I loved it because I remember me as a little child. I loved disco music. That's all I did was dance disco. Donna Summers was my girl.
Right. Right. Talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the group forms. What was your first impression? Because like I said, you guys were one of the. Yeah, we had Shannon, we had Connie, we had Lisa. We had people out there kind of introducing it, but it was that next wave that came in. The Cynthias, the Johnny O's, the Cover Girls, Sweet Sensation, with this whole new young wave of it. Talk about like you said, Florida. Obviously, we represent. Florida's known for playing everything. We don't give a damn what it is. Like we'll play reggae, salsa. Like you said, what kind of club is this? Like the club that plays everything. Like because we play everything.
yeah.
But talk about what that was. Seeing the music and the people's reaction to it when this is all first kind of coming out. What kind of reception were you getting? And were people kind of seeing the future of it?
It was crazy. Wait, what?
No, I was gonna say, should we like rewind and saying that when we all got together, it was, I think it was the attraction to us being us
Right.
today, was also Janae and I wanting to audition for a group that was popular and also the genre of music was just like hot. And so it was a competitive job to audition for. And so, and we're talking about history. So Betty and I have a history at the High School of Performing Arts, which is now AKA LaGuardia. But the attraction to the music, to the way it was changing, even trained dancers, it changed the entire scene that we were fortunate to become part of it.
Right. What say you, Betty?
The fans, when that music came out, one of the things that was we said it's a new sound. You have a new sound. People don't really they didn't know, and they didn't know where it came from. But that year in 1986, you had Sweet Sensation. You're right. Cover Girls came out that year. And Cover Girls with like the Andy Panda sound. Was amazing. You're like, what is it? But you know what the draw is, I think, to this type of music? It's like it was primarily Latinos who were the recording artists, and for me, I know, like, that is, how Latinos are. We're proud. We finally had something that was ours. They're like, this is our music. This is Latino pride in effect. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Now let's stop right there because, and shout out to George Lamont because he said he touched on similarly what you're alluding to say. So I'm gonna tell you to say it. But there's a conversation within a conversation that's not being had, which was there was this feeling like Latinos were no longer invited to play the front in hip hop, and that created a vacuum that freestyle, house music, dance music, and Latin R&B filled, because for a long time it just felt, and I don't necessarily feel that was us. Like, I don't feel that was us that did that. Like, we didn't say blacks over here, Puerto Ricans over here, because we're all black.
Over there, right?
We're all black. But there was a move, I guess, in the industry to kind of capitalize off of certain divisions that were there per se. What say you, Mama? Hey! Hey!
I had to laugh.
We have to laugh. I was waiting for it. You know he's gonna stick his head in.
On her shoulder. Yeah. What's up, Kay?
K7 in the house.
No, I'm not.
What up?
I have my headphones on. That's why.
Hi, Jay. How about love you, girls? Miss you.
So I'm gonna
Yes,
ask.
ma'am.
I'm gonna answer your question. Okay. I mean, we're gonna talk about this. So when that music came out, this is a really good example. Hooked on You was being played on Kiss and BLS, right? But then we went on this Make It or Break It with Anita Baker, Sweet Love. Like, we couldn't even like compete with that, right?
That's my
But
jam.
the divide started happening because once we were dropped off those stations, where were we gonna go?
Right.
Because now urban radio wasn't friendly to this new sound. Now they're like, wait a minute, okay. Hooked on You was one thing because that's a different type of freestyle, but then you had all the other, Latino groups coming out with stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
there was a time and place where we didn't really have a home, not in New York, luckily markets like California and Florida were, very in tune to, they were open and they loved it and they were very, very supportive.
This is a payphone moment. 'Cause for a lot of people, there's a whole generation that doesn't know what a payphone is. Okay, but this is that moment. You're saying there was no home for it. Where were the Latin stations back then?
There were none. There were no Latin, like the KTU didn't exist yet. You had Hot 97, right? You had Fly 92, you had all of these stations that were playing, wait for it, dance music, right? Remember, there was a space in time where you had disco had died and hip hop and R&B was ruling the stations. Then all of a sudden program directors and radio stations started to change formats.
Boom! Boom!
They were like, wait a minute, there's something going on out here.
There's too much unity going on here. We got to divide this up.
There's not just one, there's like 2 groups and 3 groups and 4 groups and 5 and 10 and now there's 12. Oh my God, they're doing shows. They're going, across the nation. They're going to California. They're going to Florida. They're going to Chicago. What are they going to do? You got to jump on board because you have to give the fans what they're asking for.
Right. But, to be fair, and you said something right before we got on the show, which I love. Ain't nobody fucking with the 80s and 90s. And that's true because even in the 70s, you couldn't listen to a station in the 70s or like late 70s, early 80s without listening to everything. I.e. the top the top countdown with Casey Kasem.
Top 40, yeah. Casey Kasem's
like
top 40.
You heard everything. Like there was no way you could hear Earth, Wind, and Fire without hearing Van Halen after that.
Right. You not right. You had Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? Which was like really like the epitome of R&B, right? But then you had the Silvers, you had Evelyn Champagne King.
Right. These
were all dance songs, very big time dance songs that were out and being played at the same stations that Van Halen and all these other rock artists. It was a nice blended family back then.
Right.
It's not so much like that now. And it wasn't back in the 80s and 90s when we came out.
But hip hop at that time too, because it was so brand new, there wasn't that many hands to say, okay, well, boom, because you listen to Fearless 4 or Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, you can't listen to African Bambaataa. You can't listen to Kraftwerk.
Right.
Or you can't listen to these groups. And then, like you said, one program director comes in there and then ruins it for everybody. So kind of like somebody took a 2-hour lunch break, and then we all got to clock in now, in and out now. Like, why do you think they did that? In your opinion, why do you think they would do something like that?
Well,
I think it's controlled. It's about control.
Right.
Control. They, like even like, hip hop. Just my opinion. Growing up, I everything was underground to me, and back in the days when we were growing up, nobody was really thinking about going commercial, because it was like, yo, if you go commercial, you selling out.
Boom.
That's how it was. And people took pride of their creativity because it was so unique and so one of a kind, so I think it was like a mix. It was like a balance. You have the radio stations that are controlled. So then you have the people who are creative and they want to hold back because they want to take everything from you. They want to take from the people who are creative, that that build their own, and then these people want to come and take it away from you, and own it and say that they created it. It's theirs,
Right. What's so freaking hilarious about what you just said? I'm gonna quote or paraphrase Busta Rhymes. Is like, we're gonna steal your shit, and then if you want it back, you gotta buy that shit back. Like, this idea of, to your point, it created a weird space for creatives, because now they literally had to play for the radio or make stuff for the radio. Whereas before, to your point, people didn't want to do shit like that. They wanted to keep their shit so original that the people knew about it, but the radio was probably sometimes the last people to know about it. And they'd be like, yo, what's going on? And it
fight everything and make it, like a
right.
It ain't rainbow. This is real hardcore shit, It's like,
right.
We sweat, and here you
Right.
get away, and then treat us like puppets, or a muppet. Stick your hand in you, and
Right. And it is sad, and you guys would know, being in it so long, it changed the trajectory of so many relationships that started out having fun, being creative, pushing envelopes, only to have to now alter all of their relationships to be looked at as dollar signs, and or radio, radio placements. So if you couldn't get the placement, nobody wanted you. Or if you couldn't please the program director, nobody wanted you. And I think that had a weird effect on music, because music has never been the same after that. To your point, there were so many stations that in different cities played their own kind of vibe. My man James said in Phoenix, played freestyle, hip hop, R&B, all of that. And I can attest to that, because in Florida, we were down here, 102 Jams. We'd hear a freestyle song, we'd hear a hip hop song, we'd hear a R&B song, and it was a mixture all day. So, but we had we had the culture here. So maybe it was that. Maybe it was just that we like to think, there's representation everywhere. But another thing that happened, DJs got handcuffs put on them because they weren't able to break any more records and play something nobody ever heard without getting it cleared with the program director.
That's true. And it came to the point where we, it's funny. I was saying this a while ago. Why is it that for freestyle music to have been successful, that we would be required to cross over to pop in order for us to get the recognition, the accolades, the charting, the sales, all the things that we would need, okay, as a genre of music, right? Oh, you
Right.
can't do that. You got to cross over to the pop side in order to
Right.
get all that. So basically, what you're saying is, okay, we got to not be ourselves, right? Like
Right.
Janae was saying, you got to, kind of change who you are, change your sound, make your sound a little more commercial. So,
Right.
you're right. The creatives suffer because, you want to be in it. Yes, you want to be, you go and you're like, yeah, I want to be on stage. I want to perform. I want to be famous. I want to sell records. You want all these things. I want to make money. You know what I mean? You go into this thinking all these things, but none of that happens.
Talk
None of
about
that.
talk about some of the things you've seen as label artists and touring artists that, because I'm pretty sure you told the shiny stories all day. Yeah, everybody was kissing me, and it was all fun, and everybody was laughing. But talk about some of the things that you've seen that kind of threw you aback, like, oh shit, like damn, I can't believe that this is what's kind of like accepted here. That kind of just threw you for a loop. Talk about that. What are some of the craziest things you've seen that artists have to put up with sometimes in the industry?
You know what, Janae, Betty, I wanted to ask you first for permission to share the story of us actually in rehearsal. It will never leave my life, my brain, about two different styles of dancing coming together and creating something beautiful, which is what we still have. I don't know. Should I?
Go ahead. You can share.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a story of learning, of accepting, and then eventually love it. But I just want to say that Janae and I, when we auditioned, we came from two different, completely different parts of the art. I'm your conservatory dancer, ballet pattern, and the conservatory, I learned music, LaGuardia, high school, and so on and so forth. And Janae is a brilliant street style dancer. And unfortunately, as a student in the 80s, breakdancing was not in our classrooms. It was not praised. It was not brilliant. It was not anything to actually even look up to. And I have to say that when we auditioned, there was a divide, an honest divide. Because when you join conservatories, you sort of get sucked, you get your ethnicity and your funk sucked out because you're just training so hard. And moving fast forward, I think we all worked out our differences and understood each other as human beings and understood our artistry and the divide between the ballerinas and the breakdancers, and you're better than them and you're not. I think that we created a family within us that broke those stereotypes and say, you know what, we can all work together, we can create together, and we can continue to create together. It's been so many years past, and I still remember that because it's dear to my heart.
But that was something about that just it existed not just between you.
No, it was
It was
in
out
the industry.
Yes, I used to go. First, I've never taken a dance class in my life. I couldn't even afford to do it. And I had a child at that time. So I was like, nobody gonna tell me how I can't dance.
Talk your shit. Talk your shit. Let's go.
I was like, yo, it comes natural for me. It comes natural. Nobody's gonna tell me how to put this arm like this and put this arm like that. I'm putting my arm the way it feels good. It feels good.
Thank you.
But I struggled with that for years because I started auditioning at the age of 17. And you know, I got turned away all the time. I wasn't part of the clique, but I didn't care. It didn't stop me. I kept going. I kept going, you know, and then everything evolves after that, because when you build relationships with people and it happens naturally, like Belle and I, you know, it was a barrier and we broke it. And we respected each other after that for who we were, because it was authentic and it was real, you know.
Right.
Not that, you know, foo or what, because people try to condition you. You know, that's what society does. Society says, oh, this is better than this. They're not better than this, and they're not better than this. We're all the same.
Amen, sister. Amen. What say you, Betty?
The craziest thing that, I mean, listen, we've been doing this so long. I mean, if you're talking about terms of like what record companies did, or think crazy stories of us being on the road. That's
right.
two different things.
Well, all things can kind of be true, because for people that, you know, may not ever have been signed to a label or never went on tour, all these things are like the same thing to them. You know what I mean?
So here's the thing with record companies, right? So when you are an artist, your goal is to get signed, go on tour, you know, make amazing videos, have amazing wardrobe, you know, get treated like queens, you know, you get all that, right? So what a lot of people didn't realize back then is that it's great. When we got signed to a major label, so we went actually from Next Plateau, and then from Next Plateau, we went to Atco Atlantic. When we got to Atco Atlantic, that was on the heels of a successful Hooked on You and another song that we had called Victim of Love. Thank you. I'm being fed by my niece. I have tea.
Yes.
So then what wound up happening when we went to Atco, they said, yes, we were a freestyle group by then, because we had Victim of Love. We were about to release a song called Take Her on Top. But we were being groomed. We were like, okay, we got lead Latinas, but we're gonna make them more white. Let's make them more commercial. You know what I mean? Let's, you know, have designers, but you get all that great, treatment, right? So then at the end of the day, when you've done 3, 4, 5, you know, videos, which were amazing, you go out on tour, you do shows to promote this album, you come back and you're like, hey, yeah, where's my money? Where's your money? Well, you made, you know, 3 videos, you made, you know, you went on tour to promote the album, right? You did all these free radio shows. You know, the record company is going to put money out, because of course they want a return on their investment, right?
Right.
But what happens is, at the end of the day, that's your money. You know what I mean? That's your money that they're taking to do all of this stuff. They're not going into their pocket.
Right.
They're not going into their
money.
right. They're spending your money. So, you know, the more money they spend on investing in you, the more money they'll take back, of course, when it's time to recoup. So a lot of artists were out there doing all these things, buying all these fancy clothes, and, you know, spending the money that they earned while they were performing live shows, not thinking, oh, I'm gonna get my come up, you know, when that check comes in. You know, when the check comes in, you're like, well, why is the check this small? They don't realize that, which is why nowadays I think artists have it so much better. You know, artists don't need that middleman. They don't need the record company. You could go out there. It's all about streaming now. You can go out there and you can make your own records. You can produce your own songs. You know, here you go. You got an iPhone. All right, let's go make some music. It's a very different world, but you know, and that's the one with record companies. You know, and then comes the part of being out there. And I've been talking about this lately, about women being out there, young women being objectified. You know, we got body shamed, you know, like you had to look a certain way. You had to, you know, make sure that you always, you know, looking good, because if not, then, you know, people would say stuff about you. It was very objectifying for women, I think.
That's crazy. Because you don't normally hear that side of the story of, you know, because you hear it at home. You know, I need time to get ready. You know, I need time to get ready. But the idea of that's your entire job, getting ready. And
you spend 3-4 hours. You know, like the thing is that it
hey,
like if
all
we
you're doing
went
is
on
getting ready all day. You're just getting ready all day.
and there's an expectation, you know, like when you go on stage, there's an expectation. And listen, there's not. I'm gonna die with my lashes on. I'm sorry, that's true. I get it. I love my
Please.
lashes, but you know,
Please.
at the end of the day, though, you know what happens is you spend a lot of time. You spend a lot of time rehearsing. You spend a lot of time getting ready, getting your hair done. You know, working out. You know, because God forbid, you know, like you know, you don't look the way you're supposed to look. You know, because then all of a sudden people are like, oh well, she don't look that good. You know, it's an industry for artists like you know, we used to wear pretty much nothing on stage. Like we had little bra and some like hot shorts, but we weren't afraid to say we love ourselves, we love our bodies, we're proud. You know what I mean?
Well, that's prevalent anyway in the Latino community.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I've never met a Latin woman that gives a
That didn't love herself, right? She's all on you.
Right. Here I am.
Do I got the light? Do I got the light?
What the fuck you looking at? It's all over here.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. But you know, that's the expectation, right? So you know, we go on stage and we try to look the best that we can and perform the best that we can. But I'm telling you, I think back then it was difficult for freestyle artists to make money outside of doing live shows.
Right.
You know, it just didn't happen. And then you had producers, you had, you know, managers who were taking, you know, tons of percentages and then, you know, just not doing the right thing. I'm not saying all freestyle artists, but I'm saying there were a few, you know, and that's just the way it was. And that's the sad part.
You brought me back with some of those like statements to the movie Casino, where Robert De Niro said, she's overweight, and the guy's like, no, she missed the weight by like 2 or 3 pounds. I don't care if she's fired. She doesn't even live here. She lives in France. Send her back.
Yeah, it's not a you know, and plus when I started with the group, okay, I was, you know, 17, 18. I was a skinny little thing. I had no booty. I had no boobs. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like, it's either you're too skinny, you don't have enough booty for a Latina, or you're too big, or you're too overweight. You know, it's just, there's no, you know, I wish there was more, less body shaming and more like, you know, supporting for, I mean, I'm just saying for women, but.
Right. Well,
by the way, they did away with weight probation. When Betty and I were in high school together in the 80s,
that's right.
There was something that existed in dance departments across the country, across the U.S.,
probation.
And it was called weight probation.
Crazy.
It was just horrible. And so, of course, we're all different shapes, different sizes, and some of us are fully shaped, and you know. It was sad then, but we didn't know that we had rights to make sure that other people, younger people, didn't have to face that. But that was done away with, thank goodness. No more weight probation.
What say you?
Chuleta, los pasteles, lechón.
Chuleta. Exactly.
Bring it all. I just had chuletas last night, so we're good. But with that said, there is another side to it, and I do want your ladies' take on, you know, the empowerment of women, and is there a line there too? Because
absolutely,
you have a generation right now that, you know, and I don't want to mention names, but you do have a generation out here right now that literally, to your point, are barely wearing anything, and skinny is definitely not in. It's almost the bigger it is, the better. But is there a line that's crossed with the liberation? It's kind of like having freedom, but there's no freedom without responsibility. Like, are we so wanting the liberation that everything goes now? And I'm saying that not because I feel one way or another about it, but I want to hear your take on why this generation, even though I lived through 2 Live Crew, I lived through a lot of craziness as far as the women dress and Florida in general. It's straight Florida thing. It just seems like Florida is now the entire United States. Like, it's all good. Like, the stuff that it was only in Florida is like everywhere now. What say you about that? And is there a line that needs to be kind of drawn, or should it just be like, nah, fuck it. We've been this way for so long. Fuck that. We need to be completely free, and we'll figure it out later. In that regard, to do whatever. Anyone can take it.
I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna send it out to my sisters. But
okay,
it depends on who is drawing the line, what your experience is, and what your limitations are or not, and also what country you are in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Period.
I don't feel that there's a line. I think it's individuality. I think how people want to carry themselves, how they want to perceive themselves to be or whatever, they're entitled to it. And
right.
and people need to just learn how to respect that and not hate on it, because we're all individuals and we're all different. We all walk differently, we speak differently, we think differently, and I think it separates us, and we're already separated as it is, and they continue trying to separate us. Like, I don't think there's I don't think anybody has a right to judge anybody, because we're all walking like this.
Damn it. All right. What say you, Betty?
Here's the thing, right? Let's talk about intention. Right? So there's intention. Like, what is the purpose of you doing whatever it is that you're doing? Because there should, one, not be any judgment, right? We all have the intention of doing things for either attention. We do it because we love ourselves and we're proud of our bodies, and who cares? Or we do it because we feel there's no other recourse, but this is what I have to do, right?
Right.
So it doesn't really matter to me. If your intention is, to go out there and show a love of your body, a love of yourself, then I'm for it. You know what I mean? I think,
right.
More power to it. Remember, we're living in a filterless world right now. This generation now is not our generation,
Right.
So
absolutely.
It is a filterless world. So, if you're going to go and hate on something like that, then you better go hate on everything else that's happening on in the world. Don't go and zoom in on a woman who is proud to show off her body, but then you're okay with, atrocities happening in the world, right?
Right.
So, context, like what you feel about it. We don't have the right to judge.
And I'm saying that from a place of, there is a lot of judgment. When we're talking about women, y'all could be some hateful motherfuckers. When I'm and a lot of society, they set up these kind of comparable things where women are always comparing themselves to other women, and so it creates a space. I'm not saying it's cause of that. I'm just saying it creates spaces in which insecurity can fester into this huge fungus of people, instead of it reinforcing, to your point, and being something that secures people, like non-body shaming, everybody feel good. Like, you would think this would be the moment for everybody to feel the most secure, but it's actually having, in a lot of ways, the opposite effect.
A fact. I agree.
Because people are comparing themselves to filters, to, the idea of being whatever this new perfect is. You hear it all the time. Is that what you want? You hear it all the time. Is it something that is empowering, or is it taking away power? That's
I
all.
think
That's
I think
really
it,
what
I
I'm
think
asking.
well, what you said is very important. I also think that it is taking away from it when you have you know, expectations that are very unrealistic. That's where I think you need to draw the line. I
Right.
think women, young women, especially this generation, they need to be empowered, absolutely. But they
Right.
also need to be informed as well that how they are naturally is beautiful. And they're falling into that trap of watching, you know, these women on Instagram who are not natural, you know,
Right. Right.
and that they're aspiring to that norm, you know, like
Right.
if I were to look at those girls on, you know, like these models and these women who are coming out, and I'm like, I'd have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to look like that.
Right.
But that's what our young women are aspiring to look like.
Which
And
is
that's what
insane.
we need to stop. We need to
Right.
stop
Right.
letting people know that it's okay. You know, I was talking to, I have a male friend of mine who was looking at an Instagram picture of this woman who had like a small waist and like big ass, you know, and he was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I need to wife her, right? And
Right.
I was like, but that's not real. I said, that's what you know, I was like, that's not real. You okay with that? Because when she's 85, 90, you know, that stuff is going to be like, you're going to have to be walking behind her, holding it up. Because,
Right.
you know, like, do you think that he was like, oh no, I'll pay for my girl to get her stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, but then what you're saying is her as a woman by herself is not good enough. You don't
Right.
realize that men are creating that too.
Right. They are, and for a lot of people, you know, I say this all the time to people. I say, for every dollar that we exchange physically, there's another exchange happening. We lose empathy, we lose love, we lose forgiveness. That's why people with money have to work harder to get what they've lost in that exchange. Well, the same thing applies with the looks, right? To acquire those looks, you lose something in the exchange. So what they really don't realize what they're wanting could actually be the worst thing, because you can, for the looks, now this woman may look at you as, you know, what we hear in songs all the time. You got money, you ain't this, you ain't that, you know, and we start to look at each other as objects. You said that from the beginning of the show, but objectifying, where we all are looking at each other, objectifying each other, not through looks, but objects. Like, what do you have?
What do
You
you
got
have?
this, you got that, you know, can you get me this? And so we say objectifying as bodies, but there's a lot of objectifying going on based on just products. You know, people are
Up
just
here.
buying each other because they're asking each other to become an object. Well, if you ask someone to become an object and they look at you as an object, then you got what you didn't even know you asked for. Right. And that's leading me to my next question about, you know, now that you guys have been together for a while, what's the hardest things you see in maintaining an organization / group / partnership / friendship? What's the hardest things that you see? Because you hear it all the time too. Since we're all become objects, you know, you hear this mantra, oh, I gotta keep my circle small, which is ridiculous. Because if we look at circles, the moon
It's never
is the
ending.
smallest circle and it's dead. There's nothing on it. So that doesn't sound fun. So the idea of us being these kind of people now, and everything seems to be on a clock. So if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm out. If you don't compliment me enough, I'm out. If you don't do this, I'm out. If you don't call me, I'm out. Like all of these rules.
It's cancel culture.
Right. Well, it is, but I think it's more of asshole culture. Like you being an asshole. Like, you know, there's sometimes you don't need to be an asshole because the world's been an asshole to you. I don't know if it's
Thank
canceling.
you.
I just think it
No.
was
For real. You can't take things personal. It's not about
right.
I
Right.
I I posted something like that. Like we go through difficult shit in our lives,
Right.
right? Sorry, I have a little 2-year-old here.
You're
We
good.
go through difficult things, right,
Right.
in our life, but that doesn't define us. You know, there's no need to treat the world or your people or your person or anything a certain way because things are difficult. That is the time when empathy and compassion should come right. That's when you need to have it. When
Well,
you can
that's
go,
well. If you sell all of it for Bitcoin, I mean,
yeah,
you're not gonna
you
have any
too can
left.
have it.
You
Right.
too can have it for
You too can have that.
$59.99. You can be an asshole. Trust me.
Exactly. So it's just, you know what? There's a lack of empathy and compassion in our world sometimes that sometimes I look at it like, oh man, do you think it's going to get better? I don't know. But
Do
I
you do
think
you
there's a lack of empathy and a big lack of compassion.
do
I,
you think?
Absolutely.
I think that
Go ahead, Mama.
a whole word exists because people have control issues. People want it their way. They want you to see it the way they see it. And it's never gonna be that way because everybody has different eyes. It's like, you have to respect a person who they are. Even if you don't like what they say, you still gotta find the light in that person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes,
And
sister.
and I love what you just said right there, but that requires a will to see past sometimes your own stupidity. We're all stupid. We're all fools. We're all crazy.
And we're
Um,
too, and we're all growing.
right,
And
which means, if you're looking at any biblical text, and I'm not taking this thing to religion, but if you look at anything in biblical text, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, whatever, there's nothing in those things which says anything about God or the prophets or whatever going where everyone has everything figured out. He doesn't live over there. He lives over there in the hood where everybody's
Yep.
got the most issues. And so, having that kind of idea of yourself, like I said, money is one of those things, like a lot of things that take away what we think we're paying for. We're also giving away, and that is forgiveness, that is empathy, that is the ability to kind of know your lane, if you will. Now, that leads me to my next question. Do you feel the fans have a better connection with you now because of the access to all of like your songs, your performances, that they could comment, get in on your life more? Is that productive? Is that good? Or did you like it when you had to just open the mail if you got to it? Or you seen the fan and be like, hey, buddy, how you doing? I got to go back to my dressing room. I'll see you tomorrow. But, what is it? Where are the plus and minuses in that connection with this new age fan that has all this way of communicating with you and telling you you're the best or you suck? How is that? Which one want to take that?
Does it make it more personal for you guys and just like more heartfelt? I think there could be some creepy callers, but I think that and I think Betty and Janae would agree that we have some fans that are super close to us and we're close to them, and it's almost like we've created a family within this bigger family. So I don't know, maybe Betty and Janae might agree as well. We've got some really wonderful people coming to like every single show. Die Hards. We call them Die Hards, I guess.
Yeah.
What say you, Janae?
Well, because we got with the group in '91, and we've had our ups and downs. Coming into the group as not Sweet Sensation, or they're not the real sweet sensation, or they're, we didn't start hearing that kind of stuff until social media opened up.
Right, right.
But when we first got in with the group, everybody embraced us. I mean, it was overwhelming. They accepted us like we were there the whole time, and we didn't have social media there. And Belle and I were only supposed to be in the group for a certain amount of time, and that was it. But it didn't happen that way. It just naturally just continued on without us even knowing that it was going to continue on. And our fan base, for Belle and I, grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And we were giving love all the time. And to this day, they still give us like mad love. And, I respect them. And I tip my hats to them because they welcomed us, and they still, they look at us as sweet sensation. We've been together for over 30 years?
Yeah.
Right.
We've been together for a long time. It's a sisterhood for sure. And
what say you, Betty?
It's not fake. It's real.
It's a different world out there now that we have all of this social media, and fans have a lot more access to us. But you know what? I'll say this. Fans, I've gotten more DMs on my inbox about fans who, when we do things like lives and we go on and we're ourselves, I mean, there was a point when me and Janae were doing lives when we were on road trips before Facebook used to shut you down because you had music on. But back in the day when you were able to do that, but, we used to get messages about how fun it was to interact with us, because it's one thing to watch a show, you're on the stage and you'll maybe take a picture backstage and you'll talk, but actually showing who you really are to people, like how crazy you are, how goofy, how like insane, do you like making sofrito or you like making pernil, like all that stuff.
Right.
And it's good. I love that part. But what happens is, because they have access to you, yin and yang, right? You get all the positive, but you also get the negative. It opens up the door. It doesn't differentiate whether, what's coming through the door is good or bad. The door is open. Right. So, you have to be prepared to take all of it. If you're going to make yourself available, then if you're going to go online and you're going to post and you're going to go on your lives, people are going to comment. The greatest thing about the internet is everybody's behind a keyboard. You got the keyboard warriors out there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and you see it all the time, like especially like on Facebook or Twitter. You see all these people, they get into these conversations and they don't realize how to get the hell out of them. And they're like, leave my comments alone. And I'm, yeah, that's right. And we're like in 1982, but now the block is like the world. Like, you literally say something and the world's gonna react. Right. And
you're not talking to the people from the apartment downstairs.
No, it's the apartment downstairs forever. All the apartments downstairs.
I know somebody has to remember hitting like the steam pipe key like with a cuchara.
No, this isn't hanging out at the fire escape and yelling across to the building.
Oh yeah.
Across the street.
Facebook and Instagram. You got the pillow here at the windowsill, and you got your arms here.
Yeah, like that.
And everybody up and down.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. But I think to cover some of what you said earlier, which was being forgiving, loving, empathizing, understanding. You don't become a hateful troll. Trolling is fun when it's coming from a loving place, and that's crazy. Love troll. Because there's entertainment about it. Sometimes it's just funny to stir the pot and see what happens and see what really comes out. Because a lot of people don't function off of just what we're doing right now, which is we're having a conversation. There is a beer. We're just sitting here talking, and it's organic and people can actually relate. Whereas there's a lot of people out there that don't function as conversationalists. They can't talk. And when they internalize everything, like Janae was saying earlier about taking things personal, to the point that when something is said that's off kilt, even on an Instagram post, even on a, in real life, they flip out. And
Exactly.
I want to ask, going into my next point, which is, given all of what's going on this last year, which is from Carajo land, with COVID and all the craziness that's been going on, how have you guys been able to kind of navigate through all of this without losing your entire freaking minds? Anyone can take this question. Anyone can answer this.
Who said we didn't lose our mind? All right. Wait, you talking like we didn't lose our minds. It's done.
That part.
Honey, our brains are crackers right now.
I heard that.
No, are you kidding? You know what? We haven't seen each other in like a couple of like weeks, right? And we haven't done a show together since October.
Months.
Wow.
So this is this, like I said before, this is rare. But I don't leave my house. I actually do not leave my house. I come to my work husband's house so I can spend time with my niece. I take a million COVID tests so that I can, be safe.
Right.
But, I got to say, reaching out to your friends and your family and hearing people's voices, and that's important. Because I'll be the first to admit it. I go under. I'm not a social butterfly. I like to stay home and watch TV. And it's difficult. It's been really, really hard when you're an artist who actually gets to go out with and be with fans and perform. Your creative juices, your creative love is gone. It's yanked away from you. You don't have that anymore. So I've been watching Netflix and trying not to watch any serial killer series.
The serial killer gets the bad rap. We need those serial killers to stay interested so we can feel something sometimes.
What about you guys, you girls?
Going crazy, yeah. I'm a teacher.
Look at that.
NY
Teacher in the house. Let's go.
Teacher from the South Bronx, the South Bronx. Oh my goodness. And life has changed. Yeah. So it's not all rainbows and unicorns and butterflies. It's not. But luckily I have a great relationship with my students and I love them. Even Janae and Betty, like if we need to rehearse, we have the virtual format, but it is totally not the same. And you ask us if we're going crazy? Yeah, just a little, because we are people. We need people. We need the fans. We need the warmth. We need smiles and hugs. And it's unfortunate that we don't have this. And so we're all pushing through just like everybody else.
We need to, I'm in need of a hug. That's what I want. I want to hug and kiss somebody. The first man I run into, I swear, he's in trouble. That
sounds like a song. That sounds like I need to hug and kiss somebody. Sounds like a song from the 70s, but that needs to be done right now.
I think so.
Right. Y'all hear that? Yes.
Hey, I'll just take 2 points. I'm good. Let's say you, Janae. Let's say you. Are you going crazy yet, or are you still marinating?
I'm pretty much like, I'm not a huggy kissy kind of person. And I'm good.
Except with me. I force myself on her. I hug her all the time.
Yeah, to me, it's been good for me because I don't know. There was so much going on before that I couldn't see a lot of things, and this like opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and I have found a lot of healing within myself, and I have opened up open back up my creativity. Like I feel like I want to be creative again. Like, and I haven't felt like that in years. You know, like I had put it in the back burner, and it was like, you know,
I
and
love what you're saying. I so dig it.
Huh?
I so dig what you're saying.
yeah, you know,
Because
I feel new. I feel new, and I'm working on myself because I want to share it, and I hope I'm blessed with the opportunity to be able to share it with, you know, people who need it and want it, and you know, it's not, life is not easy, and I feel like, you know, we're spiritual beings that have lost so much in this human life, and I feel that we need to get our power back, and our power is within us, and we need to encourage each other, we need to help each other grow, we need to, you know, we need to tap into people's self, you know, self-worth. Who are you? Who are you? Like, who are you really? You know what I mean? I'm not changing for nobody. You love me, you don't like me, I still love you. You know, it's okay. You know, but I think you all need to learn to accept each other. But the only way that can happen is if people start tapping into themselves and be authentically themselves, who they really are, not copying off of somebody else or wanting to be somebody. Who are you? You know?
who are you?
You.
That's the $1 million question, right? For a lot of people, I totally dig what you just said, because we need all that. We've all been molested by our uncle 2020, touched in areas in which we're probably never going to forget. But with that said, to your point, with that curse, there's a blessing in all of it, because certain people, maybe half the population, has come to a place in which we voted for love, we're voting for empathy, we're voting for friendship. And it begins, believe it or not, you can't have what you're talking about until you're able to talk about it. And this is what I love about doing this show, because I feel like this is all hip hop. This is what the energy that drove me to be a part of this culture from the beginning, and having this conversation, having these real interactions with each other, telling our story. I think a lot of times we get our stories told, but we never tell our story, because we're not in the place to do it, right? Like we don't have that space with that person, or we don't have that friendship with that person, or we're not in the space of it's either now or never. And I think for my city, this is what we wanted. My man, my brother. Yes.
He's back.
He's back.
No,
back.
he's waxing philosophic here. He can't hear you.
Darling.
You
Okay.
can just his face.
Yeah, but you know, just the idea of us as a people, us as a family, as a collective family, getting together and talking about some things that draw smiles, which is especially y'all whole career, but just the things that kind of just, once again, humanize us. You know, I think everyone that's listening right now can hear the human in you. You know, and I think that's the takeaway. That should be the takeaway. Sweet Sensation are humans, and we
don't get more human than us.
Right. Right.
You know what? Just to add to your comment too, you're right. Some beautiful things have come out of this. I mean, at the beginning, I think we were all totally freaking out, right? Like, you know, we were all convinced the world is going to die, right?
Right.
But then we got together. I mean, we were doing like Zoom meetings, and, you know, we were getting together every weekend. The world decided to communicate in a different way. Kids were not doing this all day. They were home, you know, with their parents, with their siblings. You know, people were doing things together. It's crazy how our world, right? When shit hits the fan, like we can come together real quick. And all of a sudden it's like, you know, let's come together. But I'm always of the idea of like, why can't we do that without all the trauma?
Right.
Why can't we live the life like that?
Well, there wouldn't be not one single kid beaten in this world if that was they would never get a damn whooping if that
right.
wasn't
But even the kids aside, but I'm saying like, like people in general, humans, like all we want to do is
on your ass.
exactly.
Put on our asses, so we can be like, oh shit, and
yes, it makes you appreciate all the other shit in your life.
Well,
right?
pain has got a bad name. Nothing real in your life does not require pain. Like love requires pain. There's nothing about
sadness requires happiness, right? You don't know. How are you going to know what happiness is if you haven't experienced extreme sadness, right?
Right.
Like
Most of your songs talk about love, but it's the reflecting off of the pain that talks about the love. So yes, why will we do it under good circumstances? Because we're greedy. we want everything, right?
We want it all.
We want it all, and then some bad happens, and that's God sounding like mama. Oh, now you want to act right when I get the belt? Like
that is a great analogy. That is a great advice, because that's what it is. You stop acting up when you get threatened.
Right. And God took out the belt on the entire earth at one time, bro.
He said, "Oh yeah,
sit your ass down somewhere. Sit your ass down somewhere and be quiet."
That's perfect.
Sit down, Joe.
Right. Well, I want to ask you guys one last question. I gotta wrap it up, but I mean, you guys are so dope. It's just this conversation could go on forever.
I know.
Jazz hands. You too, Rome.
Yes.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Let's go.
Yes. Oh my God.
You had one thing to say to my city, and that the entire world right now, given what's going on, and given what you guys been through as a unit and as a collective, with your ups and downs, what would it be and why? And I'll start with you, Ben.
I would say to the world, do everything in love. Do everything that you do with the intention of love in your heart, in your soul. If you open yourself up to that, then everything else will follow. Like if your intention is to be honest and be loving and compassionate, that is the epitome of compassion, that you can allow love. Something Janae said about forgiving yourself, forgiving others. We don't have a long time left on this earth, And one of the things that I can say about these two ladies here is that we do everything with the intention of love. Like we have had some challenges, we have done so many things, but one of the things that has kept us grounded and kept us together is that we are respectful of each other. We are family. So if there's anything that is going on with one, it happens with all of us. You know what I mean? So that is lacking in the world. And, the soul connection and the bond that we have, it's all because we do everything with the intention of love. That's the only way that this has worked out for 30 years. And we need more of that.
Demon, who's next?
Hallelujah, jazz hands.
Jazz hands. What say you?
Maybe I'll add to, of course, love. Also, because I would choose love as well. Love is a good thing. It's a good thing. But I would also add integrity and honesty, and that we move forward each and every day to try and reach for being grateful and thankful for the things that we do have, whether it's in abundance right now or not. What you're grateful for, and then also share it with the next person.
What say you, Janae?
Look, love conquers all, and That's our motto. Love. Love is love. And for those who have never experienced love, the people that do have the love, lead it, show it, teach it, because love is felt, but love is also taught, just like hate. So if we have more people setting examples of love and unconditionally love, not love, but just honestly, like, and be grateful and thankful. I mean, that's just life. That's how our parents and grandparents, taught us to respect, respect, love unconditionally. There's no blueprint on love. There's no blueprint on anything. All born naturally doing things, and there are other things that are taught, and you have to teach love to those who've never experienced it.
Right.
So somebody that's angry or hard, show them your love, because everybody has different ways of loving, and all three of us have different ways of loving, and we respect each other.
That is so true.
Well, you know what? It's all about understanding each other's love language.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
And if we all knew that, we'd be a better damn planet, wouldn't we?
are you kidding?
Some of us are mutes. Some of us are deaf.
Some of us have heavy tongues and they can't pronounce the.
Right. So, love is loud. It's loud music. It's rain. It's wind. It's thunder.
Vibration.
It's vibes.
And not everybody you're gonna vibe with, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
People say, oh, this person is just toxic. No, maybe for you, but not for somebody else.
That part.
So
that part.
Mm-hmm.
That part.
We can't say for bad. They weren't right for you.
Right. You ever play country music at a hip hop club? You want to see toxic? Everybody leaving you. I ain't with him no more. That's toxic, right?
Music now is like hip hop.
I hate him. I wanted to marry him. We play country. That's that. It's the idea of, to your point, rocks move other rocks out of the way when they get tired of them. Like, it's just that's where we are with our lives. Like, at the end of the day, you just gotta love deeply, forgive quickly, so you can continue loving. Because love requires forgiveness in order to work. It can't function without forgiveness, and that's why you gotta forgive quickly. No, don't worry about it. I got it. And keep it moving. And I know that shit sounds like a cartoon, but 2021, we all better be cartoons up this bit. More like Roadrunner.
Yes.
We're gonna make it. Keep running, because there's things we gotta do in this planet. I know we need to hear some more Sweet Sensation. I know we need to see y'all when y'all come down. You're always welcome to Orlando.
Well, we're gonna be in Florida, right? We're gonna be in Florida May 22nd. Okay. We're gonna be at the Miramar Amphitheater. May 28th, we're gonna be at the Hard Rock in Daytona. So we can't wait. We're getting ourselves ready.
Please give it up one time for Sweet Sensation, the bomb. Yo, you're always welcome on the show. Sound of Orlando show. We love y'all, man. Keep it moving, man. Keep it moving.
Yeah. Keep it moving and keep the love, baby.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie. We love you.
Love you. Man, such a great vibration, man, to have these guys on tonight. It's just, man, if you don't know how to love anybody right now, man, please go get that love. Go get that love. If you don't know what it is to be with somebody and kind of get that, go get it, please. We need that. We need a better world with people out here loving each other, man. We need a better place for us to be forgiving. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in tonight, man. I got a late one coming on right now. Slim Calhoun is coming on in a few minutes. We're going to take this break, and we will be right back after these messages. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight, man. Sweet Sensation was awesome. man, this is a great time, man. Love y'all. Let's thank everybody for tuning in tonight, man. It was a great people tuning in tonight, man. Gotta love that. Man, great show tonight. Just excited, man. So see you on the other side. Slim Calhoun coming up next.
Live on stage. The sound.
Orlando.
So, is they ready? The sound.
Orlando.
You know.